Christ may make peace upon us and all of the world and Israel. Now let us respond. Amen. Amen. It is now time to go into the Torah Sidra to examine the selected parsha and provide the Varasha, which is giving the perspective of how the scriptures do work. This is the sermon. I took a lot of time to put forth the information and to provide something that can feed the soul. To feed the soul of giving the person that is seeking to understand how does Torah work. The Sedra will begin Leviticus chapter 9, verse 1, and will conclude Leviticus chapter 11, verse 1 through 46. The Haftarah comes to us in 2 Samuel chapter 6, 1 through 19. Amen. And today again is the 8th day of the counting of the Omer. Amen. All right, it starts by opening up in chapter 9 of Leviticus. And it reads as follows. On the 8th day, Moses summoned Aaron and his sons and the elders and said to Aaron, take a bull or calf for your sin offering and a ram for your burnt offering, and both without defect, and present them before the Lord. That's the stage. Wait a minute. I ain't done nothing wrong, Moses. Why am I bringing a sin offering? I ain't done nothing wrong. You know how we get. That wasn't me. I didn't do it. This doesn't apply here. The Almighty had to make sure that whatever of defects that is given, even the offering had to be defectless. So the soul has to be defectless. Teacher, the Almighty had to ensure that the priest who was about to raise into the priesthood understood the processes. It wasn't about whether you did right or wrong. It's about showing the procedure. And sometimes we as a people don't like to go through process. Let's keep it real. We don't want to go through the process of working through things and rely on strategy and skill, but we want the now quickly. We don't want to go through the process of doing the work. And therefore, by not engaging and building into the work to get to the goal, you don't value anything because it was given you instantaneously. There was no work put in. This is telling us and teaching us that everything in life requires putting work within to get a better appreciation of the work you did. Cheating in school, cheating on a test. Cheating on a test does not say and raises itself to honor that soul that put the work in to study and to prepare the mind for whatever that study was to be building on for the goal of getting a job. I remember seeing someone saying, I'm going to be a HVAC technician. be an HVAC technician to install air conditioners in homes. But this fool is going to copy off the test of someone else and going to pass the test. But wait a minute. He doesn't have the information and the troubleshooting. He wants to get the certification but didn't put the work in. So then you going to work on a house or someone, flashing your license as if you've done a study and could blow up a home. This is talking to us and saying that Aaron and his sons must understand and go through process. They have to put the work in. They have to study so that they understand the benefits of what Torah is teaching us. I didn't become a rabbi without putting work in. Years upon study. All you see right now is the end result of everything I did. But it was years. About 12 years or more or so that I had to put study into this thing. We're very early, in my early 20s, I began. Or 30s. Years of putting the work in, studying, questioning, advocating, doing all the things in the process to get what you're seeing right now of the work being put in. And therefore, the work resonates and it can be seen as credible and it's transparent and can be researched. A rabbi's record can be challenged and to be open to the public for review. That one who put teaching within can be checked and questioned, did you put the work in? That's credibility. That's what this is saying to us. That Aaron and Aaron had to put the work in to be credible of going through the process so that those who are behind can see he did put the process in. This is saying to us, why on the 8th day? What does that mean to us? We have to do a Torah rewind. In other words, right now, you're like, what's the 8th day got to do anything? But in fact, it is an anchor, but you got to go back and do a rewind to understand the significance of the 8th day. And let's do that rewind. We got to go back to Leviticus chapter 9, verse 33. And it says, you shall not go out from the door of the tent of the meeting 7 days until the days of your consecration be fulfilled, for he shall consecrate you in 7 days. That's your beginning. Now, fast forward to today. It says, and on the 8th day, Moses summoned Aaron and his sons and the elders, and he said to Aaron, take a bull calf for your sin offering and a ram for your burnt offering, both without defect, and present them before the Lord. That's how this is set up now. Now we got the rewind of showing why the 8th day was significant. They were in retreat mode. Ooh-wee. They were in retreat mode. They separated themselves from the house of Israel and did a self-reflection. That's why they had to bring the sin offering. Woo! They did an atonement. Almighty, I have a pure heart. That 7 days was about self-reflecting. And how many hours was that 7 days They had to go in within something and make sure everything was out of them. Every confession was out before they entered into the priesthood. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, you better make sure you be honest. Because when you come on 8th day, you got to stand for the Almighty. And I'm telling you, if you don't come correct, you out of here. That's the facts. That's the facts. If you do not be honest and confess all what you have done, you're being a deadbeat father, you know it. You're spreading seed around the world and not take care of your own children. Okay, Aharon, you may have done those things. You may have been a deadbeat father, but you could change that course and submit to the Almighty. I've just been a bad dad. And now it's time for me to rise and to amend the poor behavior. The poor behavior of not being a father to my children. You've been, maybe you had the habit that you spent all the money of what's brought in and wasted it on those drugs and those things that has no value. But now you want to be rehabilitated. And you go to the Almighty, I want to do a retreat mode. Woo! I want to retreat and be healed of all those things that keep me from reaching my greatest potential. And now realizing that there's no profit of standing in the corner begging everyone for a quarter. But in fact, I must put myself in position. God helps those who help themselves. God helps those who help themselves. I'm not going to stand in front of that gas station and beg for a quarter. And I'm a grown man capable of going to that McDonald's and saying, can I flip a burger? Or can I stand at Burger King and say, can I have it your way? But I'm going to do something productive, even if it is just a stepping stone. Doing a retreat and trying to position self to go into excellency. And that is what this is. Aharon and his sons had to do a self-detoxing to retreat and to do this. And here's the thing. When the soul is out there listening, wants to do a retreat, this is what a retreat can do for you. It can recharge us. It can help us to refocus and to reset. Woo. The prophets oftentimes use retreats. They didn't just get out there and just speak and give prophecy. They did several retreats. Several retreats. But sometimes community and the things around can cloud the mind. Negativity on this side and negativity on this side. So these are human beings that even the prophets had to escape, to reset, and to be recharged. You got to step out that situation and go right back into it. But don't be the one that step out and just avoid it and stay away from it and to be afraid of it, but go back after you recharge. Go back to that thing. Even machines have to be reset. Think about it. They got a reset button on those computers. Your phone got that resetting thing when you got so much garbage in your cell phone. Even that got to have reset. How much more does the soul have to oftentimes reset and do retreats? Even in relationships. even in relationships, must have retreats. When you're in the argument, men, go away and walk away. Leave the room. Leave the home. Don't engage in domestic violence. Taking the anger to a new level, a higher level where you'll be sorry. Sisters, leave. He's not in his mindset of whooping and beating you. Leave. It's time to reset and retreat. And allow the Almighty to recharge us and to refocus us on the prize that we know that life has to offer. Amen. But here's the thing, people. This retreat was to prepare the mind, the hand, and the foot to do the importance of the priesthood that they were about to enter. So everything about the head, the mind, the hand, and the foot had to go in retreat. Rabbi, what are you saying? How does the mind, the hand, and the foot provide symbolic gestures for us? And what is the symbolic meaning behind it? But first, I'd like to give scripture to support that. That while they were in their retreat, this is what Moses said to them. If you go to Leviticus chapter 8, amen, you're going to have to get your notes, get your pen and paper and write these scriptures down so that you can see how Torah comes alive. And the sermon brings the stories and the traditions alive. It says in Leviticus chapter 8, verse 23 and the 24th verse. And when it was slain, Moses took the blood thereof and put it upon the ear and upon the thumb and the foot. And then he says it again. And Aaron's sons were brought, and Moses put the blood on the ear and the thumb and the foot. Wait a minute. Rabbi, why? Why does the Torah provide it twice? What's the significant value of teaching that this is saying to us? What's the significant value of repeating it? It said it once, we should get it by then. We should have it all understood. You know how we get, or I heard you. Sometimes we hear, but we don't hear. We don't hear the first time. Therefore, sometimes it needs to be said twice, 3 to 4 times till we get it. If we go to Genesis chapter 17, verse 7, it says, I will establish my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generation, an everlasting covenant, the second time, to be a God to you and to your offspring after you. Wait a minute, it's twice. Just like in this scripture here in Leviticus, it says twice. In Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 20, it says justice once and then justice again shall you pursue. In other words, there's a reason the Torah on purpose says it twice. Teach it, Rob. Teach it. It's a reason. It means this is an important thing for you to understand. That you must not mess this up. That you must not mess this up. And we're going to see later in this sermon that someone didn't listen. till it's said twice and the second time, and they still messed up. That's the priesthood. That was the priesthood, who were the officials and officiates of the tabernacle. And the Almighty was all in that. So that tells you what we're dealing with today. That tells you the level of integrity of what our word really means. It has no value. It has no substance. And it has no credibility. Because we don't self-ensure our words are correct. And our actions are correct. According to Scripture, we're all loosey. We're all over the place. Post over here, it's just everywhere. Clout changing. Where's the standard? Who taught you? Who sent you? We are a mess right now. And what I mean about a mess, if Almighty said in Scripture, Moses tell Aaron to do retreat. That sounds like an order process to me. Tell Aaron and sons to do a 7-day retreat and then come out on the 8th day. That's what it says. That sounds like to me, Facebook was not in the equation. Twitter was not in the equation. Snapchat and all this TikTok stuff you see out there was not in the question. But standard in Scripture was the standard. That's what it's saying to me. That's what it's saying to me. This 2020 mindset does not have a value of processes, what it's saying here. That the sons of Aaron and Aaron himself had to do retreat and reset to prepare for the ultimate. And that means you must prepare to stand before the community with the name of the Almighty, watching every bit of the move and the words that are being said to the flock. And any word that's outside of the name of the Almighty is going to be met with consequence. And we're going to see that in a minute. So I want to set up the standards. I want to set this scenario and the story's plot. I want to make sure we have a full theater understanding of how this is working. That the Almighty said, you're going to self-afflict and you're going to retreat for 7 days. All of Aaron and his sons are going to be sitting by themselves, and you make sure, Moses, you tell them everything of what I told you. Do not do anything outside of what I command. Mm-hmm. Make sure. Tell them I don't play. I remember when my mother hired a babysitter. Her name was called Big Ma. Miss Big Ma. 6'3", heart of gold. Open up our home to anyone. Strangers in the neighborhood knew Big Ma. But Big Ma didn't play. Big Ma said, I love you. And if you're hungry, I'll give you this piece of bread. And oftentimes, that young rabbi, that little boy rabbi would say, Big Ma, can I have a piece of that bread that you got on your table? Big Ma said, boy, go ahead and meet you a piece of bread. And I remember as a young boy, I would try to salvage that little bread by breaking off the pieces, we eating it one by one. But the same Big Ma, when I was out of line, Big Ma said, go out in go out into the yard and get yourself a branch. And make sure you get the right branch. Don't get the branch that's not going to do the job. Make sure to get the branch that's going to do the job. That's what we're getting into right now. The Almighty said to Moses, if any of my leaders that I ordain and concentrate into leadership, I'm going to take them out and to get that branch. And I'm going to do some whooping. And we're about to see that whooping happen. Amen. So, before we get into that part of it, we need to show exactly how this works when it comes to the names that Almighty told Moses to identify. The head, which is the ear, the hand, and the foot. And tell Aaron and sons that the head and the hand and the foot must be in conjunction with each other. One can do one and two don't do the other. It can't be two and the third don't do the other. No, none of them can be outside of each other. But every one of them has to do simultaneous work. Simultaneous work. And here's how you know it. The ear was anointed by the Almighty. In Proverbs chapter 3, verse 6 and 7, it says, listen for God's voice in everything you do. Everywhere you go, he's the one who will keep you on track. Don't assume that you know it all. Listen to the ear now. Run to God, but run away from evil. That's what it says. So that's why Moses had to anoint the ear. Anoint the ear of Aaron and his sons. Listen for God's voice and do everything you're supposed to do. And everywhere you go, remember that listen in your ear. To those who preach, wait a minute, the preacher of the church was told by CDC that social distancing is paramount to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. But however, the preacher still had Easter Sunday service and then resulted of having a death of someone in his parish. It says in Proverbs 3 and 6, listen to God what he says. So if CDC giving you a warning and you do opposite, you're risking. The hand was anointed by Moses. The hand was anointed by Moses to work for God. It says in Proverbs 31, 8 and 9, speak unto those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly and defend the rights of the poor and needy. The hands are to serve. The hands are to serve those who are weak and feeble and voiceless and defenseless. That's why Aaron and his sons were anointed in the hands. That everything they do is to serve the broader community. Hallelujah. And me, as a rabbi, was anointed to do this work by the bed din. When the first rabbi and the second rabbi and the third rabbi did the bracha and put the anointing upon this rabbi, that said you are to work and to work for the people anointed the ear, anointed the hand, and then ultimately anointing the feet. But see, this is how we do. When we don't do the work of the Almighty with the hands, selfishness of not sharing and adding, not helping of those who you know that have been victimized, is running from escaping danger. The refugees out in the world are escaping dangers that we have no understanding. And when the hand is supposed to lend to those who are weak and feeble and afraid, you close that hand up and put it in your pocket. That's what is against what Moses said, anointed to Aaron his son. You must open your hand. You must be that anchor. And those who are downtrodden, you must go into the prisons. You must go to those places where the detention camps. You must stand before the dead and the living and be there as someone they can rely on a shoulder, to be that voice to listen to be that shoulder that someone can cry on, and to have the arms wrapped around them to show them everything is going to work out. That's what Almighty said to Moses, to Aaron, and to Aaron, his sons. Show them the way to how to anoint their ear, anoint their hands, and then comes their feet. It says in Deuteronomy chapter 5:33, that the feet is now going to be anointed in the likeness and walking in the way of the Almighty. Moses had to anoint the feet of Aaron and his sons, that they walk in the likeness of the Almighty. And it says in Deuteronomy chapter 5 and 33, you shall walk in all the ways of the Lord. Your God hath commanded you, that you may live and it be well with you, and that you may prolong the days in the land which you shall possess. So by walking in the way of the Almighty serves benefits. There's high dividends. Wait a minute. Life is prolonged. Prosperity is prolonged. Family who is walking in danger around them is going to be sustained and progressed. When doubt is out there, your safety in the confines and the protection of the Almighty, because your anointed feet has been given a task and walks in the likeness of the Almighty. But when the soul walks outside of not walking in the likeness of the Almighty and saying to the word, there's a litmus test. There's a litmus test for you to be attached to the house of Israel. It's saying that because your mother is not a Jew, that you therefore can't stand to be a Jew. That's not walking in the likeness of the Almighty. That's saying and picking and choosing who you want to be a part. But in fact, the walkness of the Almighty says, my house of prayer is for everyone. A total different spin. A total different spin of when it comes to that. And therefore, that does not resonate of being and walking, of having the ear and the hand and the foot anointed like Aaron and his sons was. And there's a thing I hear a lot of us say, Rabbi, I've been called to preach. Woo. I've been called to do God's will. I've been chosen. And God talked to me. I've been chosen. speak and preach before his flock. I got a bad bear news right here. I got to really, really break it down, because a lot of us use that so loosely of saying, I'm called. I have to tell you the truth. When I began my processes of coming into the rabbinate, of studying, I didn't feel qualified. I didn't feel the energy and that I had what it took to stand in this thing. I felt self-defeated. I felt that I couldn't raise myself to the level of the expectations of what it means to be a rabbi. Every prophet been through that concept of self-pity and denial and feeling they didn't have what it took. Go through the scriptures and study it. Look at Moses. Look at all those prophets who ran away from their obligation. I had that same manner. I didn't feel confident. Almighty, why me? I don't know how to do this. But in fact, when it was a pinnacle term of when the Almighty said, keep working. I remember the turn like it was yesterday. After all of my papers of having so much read, the wrong. After still continue to work at it, still believing I didn't have what it took, that those red lines began to turn into green lines, passing. And then the turn, I started getting confidence. Wait a minute. This is getting better. I'm getting used to this. I'm starting to feel comfortable in doing this thing. So when I hear this word of I'm called, I got to find out. Wait a minute. Where did we come from? And where did we go? And how did you get there? It does not raise as simple as just saying, I was called. Because I got to show a scripture to show you if you were of the stock of Aharon and his son, you would not want to be called by God. If you turn to Leviticus chapter 10, verse 1, it reads, and Nadab and Abihu. Wait a minute. Set the stage before we get there. Nadab and Abihu was a part of the 7-day retreat of doing everything possible to prepare themselves to being a part of the consecration and coming into the priesthood. They were there. But why in the world is the Torah naming Nadab and Abihu? Right here, we're going to get into it. Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, took each of them his censer and put fire therein and laid incense thereon and offered, the Torah says, strange fire before the Lord, in which he had not commanded them. Wait a minute. When you're a part of the retreat, you're providing something that was not commanded, and there came forth a fire before the Lord and devoured them. And my book says, smote them. And they died. And they died before the Lord. So right here, when you say you call, be careful what you're saying. Because right here, if you were called by the Almighty and you walked outside of the Almighty, you dead, according to this scripture. So that's why I say to people, understand teaching and align yourself in teachings of Scripture. So therefore, you don't just loosely speak out of turn. Never, ever speak without having studied what you're saying. Because you say you're called, this says right here, you would not want to be called. If you were under the stock of the Almighty, of Haron, you had no obligation. You had no options to say, well, I ain't going to do it. You still did. Because you're of the stock of the priesthood. They didn't have an option to say, Moses, I'm not going to be and rise up after those two were being eliminated. In fact, if you go further, the next two had to rise up. It was Eleazar and Ithamar. They couldn't get out of it. Seeing their brothers, look at this. Look at the scenario. Seeing their brothers destroyed. Aaron, the father, seeing his sons destroyed. You wouldn't want to be called in this time. You would not want to be summoned by the Almighty in this time. You would not. So all this loose stuff you see today, you see all these leaders all over the place speaking all ways out of no context, just doing weird things, stealing money from folks and taking their life insurance and signing over to themselves and seeing these people engaged and doing all this. You will not be able to survive in this day. Let's keep it real. So all that craziness you see in the world does not show the order of what the Almighty did here. He slew them. He killed them. Wait a minute. The Almighty did wrath like that? Wait, we always taught that, oh, God is love and God is never a avenger. Not right here. God is a God of judgment. Right here, the God is a God of justice. He says, Moses, make sure you understand and teach them while they're in that 7-day of consecration that they do not walk outside what I say. And if they do, they did. They tried the Almighty. Nadab and Abihu tried the Almighty. Oh, we don't believe God will destroy us because we are the priesthood now. We are of the stock of Aaron. You need us, God. Tell me I'm not lying. Saying Almighty, you need me. That's not what it said here. The Almighty said, you out of here. Let someone else do the job. And if you, Eleazar, Ithamar, do anything outside of this, you dead as well. So I caution, I sincerely caution leaders or student rabbis who are out there in the world, who are in the study halls. Caution yourself. Don't get out there and just speak out of turn to all those ministers who are in the study halls engage in whatever study you are doing. Refrain from saying, I'm called. But let your work be the talking. That's how you know you're called. It's not what you say. It's what you do. It's your actions that shows you're called. It's not what comes out of your mouth. Has no value. And does not show dividends. It shows nothingness. But actions and working in alignment of having the ear anointed, the hand anointed, and your feet anointed. And the same thing what caused them to be destroyed, they abandoned the anointedness. Woo! They abandoned the anointedness of saying, we anointed now. We can do what we want to do in God's house. In fact, the Almighty said, no, you ain't. No, you ain't going to be a Negro in my house. No, you're not going to take my house and run it the way you want to run your house. That's what the Almighty is saying to us. I'm going to bring it to strict mode so we can understand this was not This was not a crib. Is what the terms that we use today. This was not a crib. This was holiness. And if holiness declares order, then we must ensure that our sons and our daughters represent and imbue the lessons of the legacies of our families. Amen. It says to us that God is a God of order. It says to us that his name must be led in righteousness. This is everything that David and Abihu abused. This says that God is a God of order, that his name must be resonated in righteousness. This says to us to make an example that transparency and justice is evident. And it says to the people, you cannot fool God. You can fool the people. You wearing that good old suit, you got those gold rings on, and you got the smelling cologne and saying you are a servant of the Almighty. But you can't fool God. Evidently, that's why they were taken out. We must, as leaders, hold the office of our prospective offices as resonated in the higher standard that reaches to be an example of what the heavenly course resembles, and in our actions and in our ways. Because if this is not done, we know that the Almighty has wraths. And how do you know, Rabbi? How do you know can fit in this scripture where it says that they died? Nadab and Abihu, the priests, died. Because if you turn to Deuteronomy chapter 32, the 35th verse, it says, I will take vengeance and I will pay them back. In due time, their feet will slip, and at the day of disaster will arrive, and their destiny will overtake them. Amen. So here's the thing we must realize and understand and know, that our ways of leadership is paramount. And therefore it comes to the conclusion of this thing that we're going to get into about the dietary laws. Dietary laws, why? Why would the Almighty include the dietary laws a part of the consecration? Woo! Here we go. Get your Bibles ready. The dietary laws are just laying here out of nowhere in the midst of the consecration of the priesthood. It says in Leviticus chapter 11, 1 through 4, and the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying to them, speak to the children of Israel, saying, these are the living things that you may eat among all the animals that are on the earth. Whatsoever part of the hoof is cloven-footed and cheweth the cud, among the animals you may eat. Nevertheless, among those that cheweth the cud or part the hoof, you shall not eat. These, the camel, because it cheweth the cud, but does not part the hoof, it is unclean to you. It just doesn't fit here. Aaron and his sons were consecrated in the priesthood, but the Almighty put dietary laws? Rabbi, where we going here? The swine is declared, or pork, or pig. It is declared in the dietary laws. Its definition is called a kukat. A kukat means a statue. A statue of doing something that you don't have a logical explanation of why you do it. It's just a bit of faith. We're told by the Almighty there's a criteria to rule an animal unfit to be consumed. We're going to get there, y'all. is a criteria that the Almighty is giving to what is capable and able to be consumed. But you don't know why you can't consume it. Well, you know why, but you don't understand why it makes you unclean. That's the part of where it says a kukat raises itself to a higher faith. I'm going to do it because the Almighty says so. I'm not going to eat that pork because the Almighty said so. It looks good. It looks good. But the Almighty said, you shall not consume it because it's unclean to you. And now we're about to understand why the Almighty put the dietary laws with the consecration of the priesthood. If the Almighty said this is unclean to you and you're a priest, you can't be efficient of the priest by consuming things that are unclean. You can't consume things that's unclean to be priests. And when Nadab and Abihu offer an unclean thing to the Almighty, teacher, you must be in alignment with holiness. You must be in alignment with what you are. What you are, as they say, is what you eat. If the Almighty said, don't do this thing, and if you put uncleanness within you, and I say you're not to do it, you're doing like Nadab and Abihu. You're just going to do it anyway. Because you were told from the beginning not to do this thing. You did the 7 days of consecration. You did the 7 days, and on the 8th day you come out. Moses called you out and saying, don't do this, and you're going to come to the dietary laws and consume it anyway. Then you become like Nadab. Lord have mercy. You become like Nadab and Abihu of offering strange fire by consuming that pork. Because the Almighty told you, don't do it. He told you, don't go into the Holy Holies. And here's the thing to prove that why they did what they did was not to be done. Woo. Rabbi, teach this. Teach this. If you go to, where's it at here? If you go to Exodus chapter 30, verse 7, it says, Aaron shall burn the sweet incense in every morning and be dressed the lamps, and he shall burn the incense upon it. And when Aaron light the lamps at eve, he shall burn the incense upon it, and a perpetual incense before the Lord throughout his generation. It said nothing about Nadab and Abihu. And Nadab and Abihu heard that decree and disregarded the order of what Moses was giving the command by the Almighty. When you don't listen and follow directions, consequences can occur. And this is evident to teach us that listening, that's being anointed, hear the Almighty and use your hands in service and walk in the way of the commandments so that you won't be like Nadab and Abihu. And when it says to you, don't consume this kukat, don't consume the swine's flesh. We don't know why it makes us unclean, but if the Almighty in his goodness is telling me something that I don't have an understanding, nor is there any way in Scripture to tell me why it makes me unclean, but it's benefit for the Almighty for me to know, I'm going to do whatever it makes the Almighty happy. Woo! Teach that. I'm going to do whatever it says that makes the Almighty happy, even though I don't understand why it makes me unclean. That's the ultimate faith. That's higher than faith. that I'm putting my trust in the Almighty, and whatever He's telling me to do, I'm not going to be like Nadab and Abihu and offer a strange fire for me to be consumed. I want to ensure that I live and my children live, and that my grandchildren live, and that my great-grandchildren lives. It's all about our actions, and that our actions can make and be detrimental if we make the wrong move. It can destroy generations. It can destroy generations. And because of their actions, they lost generations. Aaron lost grandchildren. That could potentially have been the case. And we have to be mindful. There were two of them. Are we left to believe that both of them had the same mindset? No. We have to believe there was a follower and a leader. One of them was a leader and one of them was a follower. I believe since Nadab was named first, he was the leader. And Abihu was the follower. We know how this works today in this world. We see these kids out here following everyone that's going to do bad. Cutting up in class because seeing the class clown, so then because he's acting up, I'm going to do likewise. We have to believe that Nadab was the leader of the flock of doing wrong. And Nadab didn't have a mind of his own saying, I ain't going to go in this priesthood thing into the holy holies and do that thing that we were told not to do in the 7th day of consecration. I'm not going to disgrace my father. I'm not going to disgrace the legacy of the Almighty. We already seen what He done for us, so we going to mess up now. Let's keep this thing real and bring it to a 2020 concept of seeing the same thing. You see these young boys out here, 5 of them, going, and one of them is the leader and 4 of them are following. But one of them pulls the trigger and shoots and murders someone. And then when they're all 5 of them caught and brought before a court of law, what ended up happening? Every last one of them are charged with the same crime. Maybe the one that murdered the innocent one, gets a little bit more, but they're all charged with a heavy fine, a heavy penalty. So it's always important what the lessons of what Torah is teaching us right here. Not to be followers behind those who we think are leading us, but fact check. Because Nadab, if he was a follower, could have checked with Moses. Wait a minute, Moses, can you just do a rewind? And I'm not too sure. I was told by Nadab, he wants to do this thing, but I want to check with you. He didn't check with the elder. He didn't check with the elder to ensure what Nadab wanted to do. To go into the Holy of Holies and eat that pork. Is it okay, Moses? I know we're supposed to be holy, but is it okay for us to eat this pork? Moses would have said, you heard what the Almighty said. He said, do not offer a strange fire. And therefore, we are commanded in our ear to listen, in our hands to walk and do work by the Almighty, and our feet must walk in the way of the Almighty. Amen. And that will conclude that sermon. Hallelujah. Amen. We will now close out with the last of the Elena, the mourner's Chodesh, and then Adam Olam. Amen. Amen. We just must be mindful to not allowing friends who we don't. We must be honest with ourselves that our friends are not leading us in the way of righteousness. That friends can be the detrimental blow for us. we must be mindful. You're not saying everyone is our friend. But understand a good friend will never ever lie to you. But in fact, they will be honest with you. No, I don't think you should be doing that. I don't think you should rob in a bank. I don't think you should orchestrate a plan to beat someone who's going on a CTA train and stealing their cell phone. I don't think you should. And you know what? If you do it, I'm not going to do it. Just start there.